Hi everybody, welcome to Reality Buzz TV. It's cold today, but no cold shall prosper against our gossip. So, last night we watched Izingane Zesthembu, episode 6. And I want to talk about the conversation that happened between Mpilo and Mseleko, because you know why? Mseleko thinks that we are kids. He underestimates our memory and our intelligence. So they're sitting down with Mpilo, very nice. I think something to drink or something, and Mpilo babake, and she was updating him about what happened with a conversation she had with her mom. And you guys, listen, I do feel like Mpilo is taking her father's side in the whole situation. I do feel like that. And she has made comments as well that I don't think that would help her relationship with Abantu Bagomalumwaki. But we'll talk about that in another video because I've been paying attention. But let's get back to what I want to talk about. So she updates Mseleko about the conversation with her mom about the surname and the whatever. And then, you guys, it gets to a point where Mseleko decides to have this exchange with Mpilo to express how proud he is of Mpilo, because Mpilo was saying, excuse me, she would like to have Umhlonyane. And I was shocked that Mpilo is only turning 21. Anyway, she would love to have Umhlonyane, and that should be done. Umangabe, she must change the surname, which makes sense because she said if they are doing Umhlonyane. So it has to be sorted out before she does that. Umseleko was like, oh, so now you want Umhlonyane, and she says her mother, by the way, we didn't hear that in the conversation, which means the episode, the season is badly edited, because we didn't hear Mpilo talk about Umhlonyane and her saying if Umhlonyane is done ngamseleko, amadlozi will be angry with Mpilo and they might punish her. We didn't hear that, but apparently she said it. So I feel like people that edit these shows, sometimes they are not watching the show. Because if you're going to use a conversation, if a conversation takes place in one scene, then keep it, don't edit it out, because then if you're going to use it in another scene, but they don't do that, because I don't remember Mpilo ikhuluma ngomhlonyane. So then, you guys, again, he goes into this thing of how proud he is of Mpilo, and honestly, you guys, for a moment there, I was emotional. I was like, no, and I was wondering why, because listen, Umseleko doesn't move me anymore. Because he doesn't move me because I don't like his the way that he treats women and his thoughts and feelings on women. I don't like that. So he doesn't move me very much. So I was like, why am I moved by the speech? But then I remember that it's that time of the month, and I was like, oh yeah, it's that time where I just cry about everything, My tea doesn't have enough sugar, I might just end up crying now. So then when I remembered, I would say, oh, that's why I'm emotional. Then I got back to myself. Then I asked myself, I would say, okay, what is this conversation about? Because knowing Umseleko, this conversation is not really about Mpilo. It's not really about his relationship with Mpilo. He's addressing something here. Then he gets to a point where he says to Mpilo, listen, it is not an issue for me whether you have kids before or after marriage. You actually don't have to wait until you are married to have kids. Then I was like, okay, you've got my attention there. Then he says, The only thing is that you have to be responsible before you have kids. And I'm like, why is Mselego making sense today? What show are we watching, really? You have to be responsible before you have kids. I'm like, okay. And then he goes into the whole thing of how you won't lower his standards to accommodate her. Okay. That conversation, because I thought that conversation was going to be about the same issue, but it wasn't. It was about him saying to Mpilo, listen, I want you to get to a point where you are responsible before you have kids. Now, here's the thing, you guys. Had it been any other father saying that, I would have been like, okay. No. But this was some Seleko. The very same Seleko that has always made it clear that he doesn't believe in the thing of, girls having kids before marriage. Why would people have kids before marriage? To a point where we have questioned, how do you say that when now you had kids before you got married? And the women that you had kids with, you never married those women, because there's Mpilo, there's Zesthembu, you never married them. But you are talking about how men must not marry women with kids, because he even told his sons that they must not marry women with kids. Now Mpilo is doing exactly what his father said, which is, he said, I mustn't marry a woman with kids, so I'm going to go and marry a virgin. Now it's a problem. Anyway, you guys, listen. I'm getting off track. Here's the thing. Mselego has made us believe that he does not believe in the thing of having kids before marriage. He doesn't want that for his kids. He doesn't think it's the right thing. It's the whole thing that affected their relationship with Usne. That's the whole thing of her having kids before marriage. Remember, you guys, even when the show began back in season 1, he expressed that his disappointment even with his sister, because that was not the plan for her to have kids before marriage. Now, how is it changing now when it's Mpilo? It's okay for Mpilo to have kids before marriage as long as she is responsible. You know why it's changing? It's changing because the speech that he was delivering to Usne was not really about Usne. That speech was about, that he was delivering to Mpilo was not really about Mpilo. That speech was about Mpumelelo, and maybe even more about Usne. Because, remember, before Mpumelelo had kids, he could stand in front of us and say, kids must not have kids before marriage. People must not have kids before marriage. I'm saying kids because it's his kids. But now, with Mpumelelo having kids, and him having celebrated Mpumelelo having kids, how is he now going to continue standing in front of us and saying the same? We know he didn't celebrate Sne, but we know he celebrated Mpumelelo. Now, moving forward, we want to find out, are you saying it's okay for kids to have kids before they get married? Are you saying that it's not okay to have kids before they got married? He changed it because whatever it is that he has to do has to favor Mpumelelo. Because had he stood and said, listen, I don't believe that, I don't want any of my kids to have kids before marriage, then we would have been like, but here you are being very happy with the fact that Mpumelelo has kids, but you're not very happy with the fact that Usne doesn't have kids. So he has to change it now. I'm doing this video because there are people that will be acting like Mselego, we have to follow him like the Bible when it comes to Zulu tradition, because he's a very knowledgeable man when it comes to tradition. That's why people now follow him so much when it comes to his temple, because you have to realize that Umtengu is winging. Umselego is winging it. He definitely is winging it. He has wung it. He has wung it. He has winged it with his temple psyche. He just does what works for him, you guys. He just does what works for him. And a lot of the times he will just say what makes him look good. And if he said something before and there was a backlash for what he said, he changes it in the future. There was a lot of backlash about him saying that, his sons must not marry women with kids. And now his son has gone and had kids with other people's kids. Now he's out here saying he might not even marry those women that he had kids with. Now he has to change it to look good now, because how are you going to still say the same thing to your daughters if your sons are behaving this way? So in showing support to the your misbehaving son, you are going to change your stance on your daughters. Now it's okay for them to have kids before marriage as long as they are responsible. Because not only did he need to support Mpumelelo by saying it's okay to have kids before marriage, he also had to justify why he hasn't supported Usne. So in saying it's okay to have kids before marriage, he's supporting what Mpumelelo is doing. But then he's also explaining to us why he hasn't supported Usne in saying, but you have to be responsible. So that's why I haven't supported Usne. So that's the whole speech, you guys. If you almost cried like me, what a waste of tears. Because that speech was not really about how much he is so proud and love Mpilo. And he should be proud and he should be proud of Mpilo, because Mpilo is a very respectful, you guys. I think that, and I do think what have we heard about Mpilo out here in the internet? Because if she was doing funny stuff out there, trust me, we would know, So yes, he should be proud, but I realized that he was addressing something different. Even though he was making it sound like it's about Mpilo, it was about the two people, Mpumelelo and Usne, the people that we have been talking about. Because the question has been, how is it okay for Mpumelelo to have kids before marriage, but it's not okay for Usne to have kids before marriage? And don't come into the comment section and be like, "Hi, Tambazan." It's like, "Hey, Tambazan." Guys, that is a lula lap manje. I want the explanation, Etty, because he's a girl. Sidlulile lapho, guys. Sidlulile lapho. Niyasibona ngithi asivutelanga ANC. Sidlulile nje lapho. Give us another reason. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like it before you share it with your friends, with your family, and even with strangers. Get it, Tanda.